I mean, that, it picked up in Compton, but, got as far south as Torrance, so that's kind of far away, and then kind of made a big loop around, and now this is the farthest north I believe the chase has gone here, as we're in South LA, exiting the northbound 110 at Gage.
And I know earlier this was reportedly a tracking. I know it hadn't officially switched over to pursuit mode, but are we now officially pursuing this vehicle? Is the CHP officially pursuing this vehicle in a pursuit?
They've kind of been going back and forth on this, Elsa, and in fact, I just heard them say once again that they're going to have all of the ground units pull off. So I don't know if they're, really concerned about the traffic coming up ahead. It looks like we are getting into some heavy traffic, and they were talking about having the ground units pull back again, just probably, in case this suspect started driving. So, a lot more wild.
Yeah, Desmond, describe to our audience then as to the protocol here is why police, following a vehicle, stolen vehicle, would pull back away from a vehicle and not actively pursue them. We understand that there's a helicopter overhead. We see the spotlight on that vehicle, and they will continue to follow that suspect that way. But what is the reason why CHP or any police agency would kind of back off?
I was actually speaking with a CHP officer the other night, Jeff, and every is different. I would, they may suspect that this person is armed. We hadn't heard how this vehicle was stolen, if they held somebody up and stole it at gunpoint or something. But a lot of times when they have them go back in tracking mode, they are concerned that the suspect may be armed and dangerous. So that's one possibility, although we have not had that confirmed yet at this point.
I know the helicopter is going to stay overhead on this vehicle. We see it many, many times, even though the patrol cars, whatever agency it is, tonight it is the CHP at this point. The helicopter will remain, Desmond, and continue to track that vehicle. At any point, though, when the traffic clears up, or maybe if he gets off on side streets, do you think the patrol cars will, again, inch closer to him or her and turn this into a pursuit?
Yeah, that's a pretty good possibility. They may re-engage once they get back on surface streets. They may have to hand it back off to, may have to hand it to LAPD depending on where this goes. We're actually westbound on the 105 now, eastbound on the 105. We were away from the 110. And, eastbound, this is the volume side. In the evening, this eastbound drive on the 105 could be a pretty brutal one. And it does continue to be a slow ride, not completely locked up. He is moving at a decent clip, but again, I'll zoom out and you see that it looks like the units have indeed disengaged, and it looks like CHP at this point is content to just manage this from the air and see what his next move is going to be. Hope that he'll give up. Maybe he'll run out of gas. Yeah. Just have to see what CHP's next move and what this suspect's next move
let's
is
just
going to be.
Update our audience real quick. This is KCAL 9 News at 8 o'clock with an early start as we continue to follow this breaking news. This is a stolen vehicle following by police officers here. They have backed away from this vehicle. A suspect earlier this evening ripped off a car in the Compton area. Stolen vehicle was northbound on the 110 at one point in time. Not exaggerated speeds here, about 80 miles per hour is what we're hearing at this point in time. The car that you see there in the spotlight is a silver Nissan Rogue. That's a smaller SUV or crossover type of vehicle, and it has gone through Compton. It was on the northbound 110, which is where it is now, and Elsa's now seen to be in the Linwood area.
Yeah, eastbound 105, and now it appears he's hitting a little bit of congestion there. Desmond, I can't tell from here, is that an off-ramp? Is he exiting the freeway? It looks that way.
He is, yes. This is Central, and he's lined up to go southbound. Again, we'll see what the suspect does. We saw him try to pull a fast one here really quick when he got off an off-ramp on the westbound 91, and then actually did just flip a U-turn really quickly and get back on the freeway. So that is not an option here. He's just sitting right here at the bottom of the off-ramp here, getting ready to make the turn. And, kind of peculiar. Sometimes we see this. I've noticed that you see he's using the suspect is using their turn signals. So they are south on Central now. Been using turn signals when switching lanes. Again, we haven't seen any crazy excessive speeds. Haven't seen the suspect running any lights either. When of course this is an alleged stolen vehicle. But at the very least, we can say has not really been endangering really erratic driving so far.
Now, this is going on surface streets, so do police officers believe that that's any more dangerous for somebody? Obviously, they're not really driving out of control or anything like that, but does that bring more cause for concern for police officers when it comes to a pursuit on surface streets, Desmond?
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously there's a lot more variables when you get on surface streets. You have cyclists, you have cyclists, you have people, you know, flipping between their radio stations and not necessarily paying attention to. There are a lot more variables. It is very peculiar. This is particularly strange, though, that we're really not seeing any engagement here. We're at the corner of Central and 120th. And Larry, you see, just obey the traffic laws there going through. Didn't attempt to run any red lights, which we see so often with these pursuits. And in fact, even essentially driving pretty close to the speed limit. So this is pretty odd following so far. Again, this has gone from pursuit to following to tracking mode at this point. So we just have the CHP chopper overhead,
and there he goes again, Desmond.
It looks like he's
making a turn.
Turn onto eastbound 124th Street, and so we're kind of on the edge here of Compton and South LA, and you know, this is probably not a random maneuver, I would say, knowing how these suspects behave. Let's see. Maybe he's going to go home and hopefully just surrender themselves. But we'll see.
And making a U-turn and doubling back here. You know, perhaps CHP is getting the effect that they wanted by backing off from this driver. He hasn't blown any stop signs, like you said, any red lights. We haven't seen him barrel through any intersections, all of the classic things we see through many pursuits. He's obeying all the traffic laws, even using his signals. However, I would imagine he has to know that the CHP helicopter is still very much trained on top of him.
Well, Desmond, if you take a look just below there, you see two police units right there. So, and this suspected driver now coming to a complete stop but waiting for traffic. So, Desmond, we have units that are actively involved, at least following this individual.
Yeah, so they are, you know, I guess they're just kind of keeping their distance, and that was very odd. I was trying to listen in to see if CHP was going to say anything about that. They haven't said anything as far as what was going on right there, but, you know, I'm sure they exchanged a glance, and you know, obviously you have a spotlight overhead, and so we're southbound once again on Central. That was 124th Street he had been on, and there was the CHP chopper that you just saw fly into our shop. They're just about 500 or so feet below us. Yeah,
police could actually, you know, they might have information as to who this person is and who the vehicle belongs to, I'm sure, and they may have information that we're not privy to at this point in time, and maybe this is one of those situations where this person will end up being caught, you know, hours or days later, but obviously it appears that they're actively at least following this individual, and this individual is not driving erratically, and so far it doesn't appear to be a danger to anybody. Of course, that could change on a dime, though, but at this point in time, that individual behind the wheel of the stolen vehicle, that's the silver Nissan Rogue you see there in the, we believe that's a police spotlight there, and the light is driving around in a stolen vehicle, following him at this hour.
Desmond, what direction is he going in now, and is he heading anywhere towards a freeway again?
We are southbound on Central again, just crossed El Segundo. That was the signal that the suspect was waiting there so patiently. And so we're southbound on Central, kind of, you know, back, getting pretty close to Compton Airport, actually, and we will be at this rate back to the 91 freeway here in no time at all. So that will open up more possibilities. One freeway earlier headed westbound, so we'll have to once again, but we should be on the 91 here pretty quickly.
You have to wonder, he is driving quite predictably right now, following all the traffic laws, using signals, stopping at stop signs. You would think this might be a good opportunity for the law enforcement agencies that are helping out with this, CHP, to maybe throw down some stop sticks, or is it just possibly not that urgent at this point?
Yeah, really hard to say. You would think, especially like you said, as pedestrian as this pursuit of this following is going so far, that it would be a good opportunity to end it in that manner. But yeah, very, very, very strange here.
Now,
he seems to be picking up his speed.
He seems to be accelerating now. I wonder if there's something going on down on the ground. We'll give you just a moment, Desmond, to kind of listen and see what you can tell us, as we're going to just bring our viewers up to speed here. As this Stolen vehicle pursuit is now, Elsa, it appears to be going a little faster. I don't see that he's going through any stoplights or stop signs at this point in time, but this was a very, it's kind of a slow pace sort of a pursuit or police following this individual in a stolen vehicle. That is going to be the silver Nissan Rogue you see there, which is going to be the center of that police spotlight. This began less than an hour ago, less than a half hour ago, really, probably in Compton. CHP is the lead agency following this. At one point in time, the LA County Sheriff's Department had that as a stolen vehicle. They were following, and then CHP took over.
I'm not sure what has changed, but it seems as though all of a sudden the speed really increased, and he really started moving in a little bit more of an excited manner here, and picking up the anything.
No, they're just calling out the streets here. This is another high-numbered street. I believe we're up near 130th or so. That was, or headed eastbound, though, away from Central. So paralleling the freeway. And, you know, you saw him, though. It did speed up there for a little bit, but came to a complete stop at that stop sign. And so very strange. Most likely a familiar neighborhood. You know, as we often say, a lot of times that's what these suspects like to do. They like to stay in places that they know pretty well and hope that they can perhaps evade the officers if they have a more intimate knowledge of the neighborhoods about one-way or stuff like that. So headed back westbound. I think I just heard 153rd, and there's Compton Boulevard. So we are indeed in the city of Compton, right where this started. So yeah, we've essentially come full circle at this point.
Yeah, it's not unusual that this happens, because a lot of times, as you just mentioned, the person behind the wheel of that stolen vehicle, maybe somebody wants to be in familiar territory, if you will, or a lot of times they end up going back to a place where they live, or where they have lived, or the girlfriend lives, or the mom lives, or relatives, or something like that. It always seems like they ended up doing something like that. We don't know if this person is just preparing to do something like that, or is just, quite frankly, you know, scared and doesn't know what they're doing, and at this point in time is just driving around.
Or what to do at this point. But Desmond, oh, okay, so he's encountered a little bit of traffic. I saw him slowing down, but they're really we're seeing him slow down again and starting to obey the traffic laws.
Yeah, he was eastbound on Compton Boulevard, and now turning southbound. Excuse me, southbound away from Compton Boulevard, and so once again headed kind of back down towards the 91 freeway.
And this drive to continue to pursue this. We saw a couple of police squad cars nearby, but obviously, when you're driving, Desmond, you see the bright light of the police helicopter, and you know that you are being followed, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he did have units right behind him earlier. You saw on and off, but he's probably wondering what's going on too. I mean, he may be wondering, you know, why aren't they following me? They had been behind me, and they gave up, and always, you know, kind of hard to speculate what's going on in their minds. But this is certainly one of the odder pursuits slash.
It's almost like he's looking for an address
we've
or
covered
something.
so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Go ahead, Desmond. Sorry about that.
Oh no, I was no, eastbound on Almond now, and this is a street that curves back around. It looks like to the south. So, yeah, it's been in the in residential neighborhoods here of Compton for quite some time, and like you said, also maybe he's looking.
Mature but doesn't see light, so it's very possible sometimes they turn that out as a tactic and just watch them on the camera, so that's a possibility. But it's apparent right now that at least the airborne law enforcement crew wants him to know that they're there, that they're not going anywhere, and that he's not going to get away. And sometimes that's enough for the suspect just to pull over and wait for the officers to arrive and hopefully take him into custody without incident.
So it looks like, yeah, well, it looks like he's talking to those people for a second. They're pointing at something, and then he's moving on. And keep in mind, we don't know how many people are in this vehicle. We say he or sometimes they, but we aren't sure. We haven't seen any reports of how many people might be or how were spotted inside that vehicle. We did see just a few minutes ago, a couple of minutes ago, JT pointed out the CHP cruisers were sitting there watching him closely. They got a good look inside. I don't know if they saw anybody extra, but we haven't seen any reports since then. And let's watch this. He's pulled into one, an area with a closed gate, is backing out. I don't know what this facility is, but clearly it's got some security. Look at the gates that all the way around it, so he's not going anywhere.
Do you see this, the door open to
Which one, the driver's?
the actual little building, the little outbuilding. Right?
Gotcha.
So somebody opened the door and then closed the door.
Clearly some sort of a security gate that is sitting right there. I don't know if this person wants to try to get in there, if he is known in that place, if it's an apartment or if it's something else. Looks fairly high security though to me, but we just don't know. This is again in Compton. This driver seems to be indecisive on what he wants to do right now, but looking for some place to go. And clearly, we didn't have a way in there.
No, and you never know.
Yes,
yes.
Go ahead.
That's a good indication there that with a night sun, that's telling that security guard in that shack that, hey, don't let this guy in.
Right.
That's probably what the security came out. He looked up at that helicopter with the night sun, and it did not open that gate. So that's a good thing he didn't get in there.
I wonder if there's a possibility that he knew or he has been at that place before and expected him to open it, but they didn't because of the situation. Perhaps they didn't recognize the call, and then, you, of course, the night sun gives it all away, and I'm sure he hears the helicopters as well. So this guy obviously is in some sort of trouble. Police and people are after him.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell, especially with stolen vehicles. This is previously unreported stolen, and that suspect may be familiar with that particular apartment building or whatever that was. But the security guard was not familiar with that particular car that the suspect's driving because it indeed is a stolen car. But you can see that he's continuing now driving relatively quickly, but it doesn't look like too fast or too reckless at this point as the pursuit continues and the air crews overhead keeping a very close watch on the suspect.
Right.
No kidding. It does look like, just a speculation, but it does look like there's just one person overhead. A moment ago, when we had a advantage inside the vehicle.
Up to 1020.
I thought it was going right past this
looks like South
gas station.
LA
It
is
looked like there was just
trailing,
one person inside the vehicle with white arms, like a sweatshirt of some sort, but you can't see anybody else in there. Again, no word on this person if they're armed or what have you.
It's tough to see, but I can't say for sure, but I didn't see anybody in that passenger seat. I just saw the driver, but it doesn't mean that there isn't somebody there. What I'm seeing, where there could be somebody in the back of the vehicle.
We've got the ability here to zoom in a little tighter here, and the operator will hopefully get in a little tighter as soon as we get in front of the vehicle, maybe try to get a better look through the front windshield. See if we can get a better look at who's actually on board.
Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, outside of the reckless driving on the actual freeway, what is he doing here? The reckless driving on the freeway, we haven't seen any odd behavior. We haven't seen anything thrown out of the vehicle or him acting erratically inside. Okay, he's backing up.
Right.
It's a little dark in this area, so we're going to actually gain up the camera just a little bit to get a little more light in here. We've got that ability now, so try to get a better look in the dark here to see exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and sometimes, as you've seen before, you see the suspects on the phone. Of course, they could have Bluetooth or something like that, but you see them on the phone talking. And so far, a moment ago, you saw both hands on the steering wheel. So it's sort of an unusual pursuit here because the person is driving somewhat calmly through these neighborhoods. Those speed bumps certainly help.
Perhaps he knows
yeah,
he's...
it's always, you see so many different, David, so many different demeanors of the suspects in this pursuit. Some are calm, some are erratic and reckless, and we've seen a little bit of both from the suspect, but right now, again, law enforcement is very pleased that he's calm and driving relatively calm and not endangering anybody, and they'd like to keep it that way. So that's why they're probably more than likely staying in tracking mode because his driving has not continued to be erratic, and they can still keep eyes on him without making him feel more pressure and maybe causing a more dangerous situation that's needed for just getting this crime against property suspect in custody.
Yes, and again, as we keep looking into the vehicle and we see the vehicle stopping right now, stopping with the traffic, not trying to whip around and zigzag all through traffic, but again, sees these helicopters, clearly knows that they're being followed.
It looks fairly clearly that there wasn't anybody in that passenger seat of that vehicle, but yeah, this guy is abiding by traffic laws now. And Dirty makes a good point. Why go back into some sort of pursuit, want to continue on with this way because clearly it is much safer for the community as a whole if this guy continues to drive this way and just wait him out. He's got to know that they're on him, that he's probably not going to be able to go anywhere. We've seen these situations in the past where they're on the phone, sometimes even trying to negotiate how they give up or where they go. Sometimes they're on the phone with family members or friends saying, I'm coming your way, have a door open for me or meet me on the street or something. In this case, we don't know what he's doing. It's hard to see because it's night. We haven't seen anything crazy unusual outside of the beginning of this pursuit when he was driving really erratically.
Right, on the freeways. But we did see him a few moments ago when he pulled up to those other people who were outside their car and put the car into park and then clearly talked to them for a few moments before he tried to get into that gated environment. Don't know exactly if it was an apartment area or homes or what kind of business that was. But again, the security or somebody opened up the door and saw that, like you said, the sunlight, right, sunbeam over him, looking down.
Night sun.
The night sun. I always call it the spotlight,
So
the night sun,
he's
yes.
southbound in Wilmington, although he's just driving off of it now. But if you know the area, southbound Wilmington in Compton. He just took a left, though, and continues to just meander his way through the streets.
Yeah, and what's happening here is law enforcement, depending on which department, the policies differ in surveillance mode, but there are units that are authorized to use their emergency equipment, lights and sirens, to stay at distance and still use that equipment to stay in the area of the pursuit. So you can be assured that officers are nearby and in the area. Some departments have different policies. LA Sheriff's policies are much different than LAPD's policies. I'm not really certain who the primary unit. We know CHP is handling the pursuit right now, but not sure who was the primary on this pursuit to start with. But as they come through the city of Compton and they go down into Wilmington, that's back into the city of Los Angeles. But at this point, it looks like they're going to be very content with tracking this pursuit. And keep in mind too, if we don't know what the officers know about the suspect. He may be a named suspect. He may be in a stolen vehicle, and it's unusual to have a named suspect in a stolen vehicle. But you hit it on the head, David, when you said possibly he may be on the phone. He may be talking to the authorities already, trying to think about a place to surrender, has concerns about other things they're discussing with him. So a lot of the times there is a supervisor involved in this pursuit. And again, we talk about it all the time. They're doing what's called the balance test. How important is it to get this suspect in custody without risking the safety of the general public? And that's constantly going through their minds and using all the tactics they can to get the suspect into custody safely.
Okay.
So all these things are going through the mind of the supervisor in charge and the watch committer as he's stopped on the street now.
He's on Laurel right now, and it almost looked like he was communicating with somebody. I saw a hand gesture there. I don't know if he's talking outside the window. Oh, here we go. Maybe he knows somebody here in this vehicle, or he's trying to get some information from them in that vehicle. Oh, there's a gate opening over there, but he's not going for it. He's circling back, getting back onto the street. So it's tough to figure out what he's doing, but he does seem to be constantly stopping at these gates, trying to find his way into some place. Perhaps he's thinking if he can get into there, he can make a run for it, since there are no vehicles immediately behind him.
And we did get a good look at the camera there, David, on Colleen, of the suspect. He looked like he was wearing a long-sleeve white shirt with possibly blue or dark stripes, maybe a plaid.
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
So
some sort of a plaid.
At least the shirt of what he is wearing. So that'll be a good indicator if he does get out and run for law enforcement.
Of course, right. So you can see exactly what they're wearing if they're trying to run and jump fences or anything. I mean, this bicyclist very lucky that this person is driving so calmly right now, because this would be very dangerous for any of the pedestrians trying to cross crosswalks and any of the drivers in this area. So again, it's good to see this person actually calm during this pursuit.
It is unusual, though, the way he was driving on the freeway compared to now, where he's now using his blinker. He's waiting at each intersection. It's a kind of a dramatic change of attitude for this suspect, even though he will not give up, at least so far. At least he's behaving himself when it comes to the way he is driving and being far less dangerous, even to the point where he uses his blinker to tell you where he's going to go.
1182, southbound 605 south of Lawrence. It's a white Chrysler minivan and a gray Dodge Ram on the right shoulder.
They're tracking those. They're trying to look as inconspicuous as possible, even though there's a 50 million candle power light on them. They're trying to blend in and find a way or buy themselves some time to get out of the pickle they're in. Again, we don't know. It doesn't appear that this guy was impaired, but again, when officers are chasing you and your mindset is in a different place, a lot of the times when suspects suspects are arrested after pursuits, they say, well, why did you run? And they say, well, I just wanted to stay out of touch just a little bit longer. So, 99.9% of the time, suspects are taken in custody with a very rare occasion, with circumstances when they're not. But, and then they know they're going to jail, and it's just trying to stay out of those cuffs as long as they possibly can.
But they're supposed to get a tougher penalty when they run from police like this, especially when they drive really erratically, putting everybody in danger. They're supposed to get a tougher sentence, but I don't know what the statistics are on them getting it, but I guess when it's all said and done, if nobody's hurt, everybody's thankful that they just gave up.
Well, there is added penalties for pursuits, and felony evading is put on top of the charges. Whatever the original charge is, they're going to get that evading charge, and depending that could be more severe. You can see he's doing these U-turns in the street. A lot of times they'll do that just to clean up, if you will, to see who's behind them, but to see if anybody's still behind them. But he obviously is not really either noticing or and the night comes on, and they're very, very close, and he knows that his number. But yeah, there are additional charges on top of whatever he is running from, and especially if, God forbid, he does hurt somebody in the middle of a pursuit like this, there's going to be some special circumstances involved with the termination of the pursuit.
So there are some units right behind him. I mean, they're not right up on him, but they are a little bit of a distance away, but they're clearly there, very present, and they're close enough to where they can immediately react if he does try to run, so he knows that. He clearly sees those vehicles. So now it's a matter of trying to figure out what his game plan is. Is he trying to get somewhere specific? It doesn't seem that way. He's just trying to figure out what to do next.
No, but we are learning that he's driving eastbound on Compton Boulevard, as we saw law enforcement right behind him, and clearly knows that they're right behind him and they want to pull him over because they're not that far behind. But you don't see their lights on, flashing or anything like that. I guess enough of the drivers are aware that some kind of police activity is taking place. But again, this is eastbound on Compton Boulevard, and of course now turning right in this area. So just took a right off of Compton Boulevard.
And he says it seems hesitant with everything he's doing, like he doesn't really know or have an objective right now, just trying to figure things out.
And David, I think you nailed it with what you said there, and that's exactly it. Some of these pursuit suspects are very deliberate with what they want to do and how they want to do it. Some think, well, why drive fast and crazy and have the same result? So they're just kind of just going very slow, trying to figure out what they're trying to do next. So every pursuit is different, and that's why it's so dangerous for law enforcement. So you never know what you're going to get. You don't know if there's additional charges a suspect may be running from. It may be a reported stolen, but there may be unreported crimes connected with that, involving weapons, involving another crime that they do not know about. So that's why these things are always so dangerous for officers. They just don't know what they're doing.
His window has been down, his arm is hanging out. It actually looked like he was trying to talk to somebody as they were driving by, like he was yelling out the window. That's what it looked like to me, at least. At that last intersection, he did pull the window down. It almost looked like his head was on something. Like he was yelling at somebody, something. And he just continued to drive. Doesn't it look like he leans over and is saying something or doing something at each place?
Yeah, it looks like he's communicating with people, and again, there may be people that he knows. He may be just not in the right frame of mind right now. Again, that's always a distinct possibility.
He's smoking.
Yeah, he's smoking, and you can see him a little more animated right now. So clearly agitated, and stop. But he seems to do this. He does a stop and then thinks for a while and then stops and U-turns. So.
But a lot of communicating to other drivers that are around.
Like what's he doing right here?
He's hanging he has a cigarette or something in his hand right there. He's casually smoking that. And has the window down clearly. Every now and then he communicates to people that he's driving by. We saw the two people outside the car that looked like they were pushing that car. He was trying to talk to the person at the guard gate. It looked like he tried to talk to that other vehicle as he was at that intersection.
Highway Patrol, Councilman Pickler, eastbound 10, just east of
Very unusual. We've seen this before in the sense of suspects talking to people, but it looks like he's just randomly talking to different people.
Right. It does seem like.
Now He accelerated a little bit,
Right.
changed lanes. Of course, all the while, there is a helicopter overhead and a couple of CHP units behind him. And if he continues to do this, JT, and see surface streets, when do they switch out CHP? Does the CHP just stay on this?
Well, at this point, he's in the LA County's area, which is the city of Compton, which is handled by the LA County Sheriffs. And at this point, it seems that the LA County Sheriffs are not going to take this pursuit over. And they're going to leave it to the CHP. Again, I'm uncertain who was the initiating initiating agency, whether it was CHP or possibly someone different. But it's very possible that there's just sheriffs are going to be very content with letting the CHP handle it. And
the only information I have was CHP was in pursuit on the 110 freeway, but I don't know if that was how it began or if it was already underway and then they took it over during when he was on the 110 freeway. So all this information we're still trying to get, but obviously we are about a half hour in on this pursuit now at 7:51, and it is continuing on in Compton where it all began, as at least to us was reported that they were on a stolen vehicle. That vehicle then jumped on the 110 freeway and took off at a high rate of speed, dashing through various lanes, although the freeway was wide open, Colleen. It was when he hit the eastbound 105, CHP went into tracking mode, slowed down, and he hit a lot of traffic on the 105, and suddenly his behavior changed once it got into tracking mode, and he didn't seem so desperate to get away.
No, and again, we're back on Compton Boulevard, traveling eastbound. Again, as we know, that a lot of suspects go into the areas that they know the best. But yeah, David, what a difference. Unfortunately, he's not driving the way he did on the freeway, but his speeds were quite fast and going in and out of cars. And at that one point, we thought there was another car that looked like him. I thought that maybe we were looking at the wrong vehicle. But again, you can clearly see this is a suspect who does not want to be pulled over, does not want to stop, does not want to give up, and just wants to keep driving, but somewhat calmly through the streets of Compton right now. JT, anything from your vantage point being usually you're always in Air 7 HD kind of following these and seeing right now kind of picking up some speed now?
Yeah, what's interesting, what we noticed about this is it appears to me, guys, that he's just trying to buy time. And you know, again, we've seen this before when they do this. It's possibly maybe trying to get rid of contraband that's in the car, either ingesting it, smoking it, or trying to throw it out the window. But right now, it appears like, again, that he's picking up that speed. He went through that red tri-light, which was in a stop mode over the top of the freeway now. But it continues on, and it looks like he's just trying to buy his time as the pursuit continues, and just trying to figure out what he wants to do. So right now, you can be assured that the watch commanders and the supervisors are watching this very, very closely and trying to make tactical decisions on what the next step is, whether that's a pit maneuver, a pursuit intervention technique, where they engage the rear end, causing the vehicle to lose control, or maybe even a spike strip. This may be a good opportunity to deploy one of those things, but it'll be interesting to see if one of the city agencies take this over or if the CHP continues. We'll keep an eye on it. It'll be very interesting to see.
Right. We haven't seen any aggressive movement by law enforcement to use any of those, those efforts, the spike strip or the pit maneuver. They've been content in sitting back, and perhaps they don't want to agitate the situation since it is a lot more peaceful now and a lot safer now, and perhaps it's the safest move, at least according to law enforcement, might be to sit back and just see what this guy does, and perhaps he gets tired of driving around, because it's a foregone conclusion how this thing is going to end. He's going to end up in custody. He's not going to get away, and law enforcement is on him the entire way, even though they're not presently right behind him. They know where he is, and they're watching him closely. In that one shot earlier, there's a unit right there. They're going to be able to react pretty quickly no matter where he goes. So he apparently is just trying to wander around, look for his best option. He clearly doesn't know what that is right now.
No, and stops, and again, minding the rules of the road, but keeps stopping these long pauses to try to figure out which way to go, and sort of staying in that middle lane as well, trying to go, should I go right or left, and U-turns, lots of U-turns happening. But again, this suspect absolutely knows that he is wanted, but he's sort of staying put. Maybe it's a red light right there.
Figure 27 returns
and
to
David is calling
Alaska
those U-turns. He's
versus
specifically
Fabian,
doing those.
date of birth
It's
12,
to see
1
who's
of
behind him. And he looked back in his rearview mirror and see those black and whites usually seen back. But he'll make those U-turns and then clearly see who's back behind him and following him. He may think they're just going to go away, but that's definitely not going to be the case. And it's going to be very interesting to see what his next maneuver is. But you're right, David. Law enforcement is very content, and their biggest and most important asset on this pursuit is definitely the airborne law enforcement helicopter, communicating all the movements, everywhere he's going, what he's doing. You see some remote trucks are in the area as well. So they're going to be very on top of what exactly he's going to do, and they're going to take him into custody. And what's important, too, you can imagine, if he gets out of that vehicle and starts to run, they're going to have a lot of units in the area. They're going to be able to surround that neighborhood in a containment or perimeter form very, very quickly and be able to get K-9 there and do a search, take him into custody.
Right, and then so he has to decide whether he really wants to go through all of that, which can be a painful and if not deadly process depending on how things go, or just simply give up. So here he's doing something here where he just seems to be pulling over. And then he takes off again, not at a high rate of speed. It just kind of looks like he's going to pull over or not. I don't know if he's just toying. See, the law enforcement is right behind him. Is that CHP or is that somebody else?
You can always tell the CHP because they've got the rear doors are always black. For the most part, most municipal law enforcement has 4 white doors. So the back doors are black. That might be LA County Sheriff's because all 4 doors are white. So it looks like LA County Sheriffs are getting involved in this pursuit. And the main gauge, we'll see.
Yeah, now stuck in traffic right here. So this is the first time to see if this person's going to be tested and try to make some illegal moves. But again, and then the law enforcement opens their door to try to say, come on, would that be?
Well, what they're doing there is they want to have those doors open in case the suspect opens up his door and comes out of that door and tries to just engage them with a weapon. So they want to be ready to be able to have that door cracked, have it open, and be able to get out of that vehicle in a hurry and engage that suspect if that's the case. So they always want to be prepared. Now we're seeing a little bit of different. We're seeing split traffic takes a few seconds back, and driving a little more erratically now, so we'll see how this changes things.
Yeah, and just a few minutes ago, it was CHP with only 2 units following him, not very, I mean, a little bit behind, but not right on him. Now we're seeing a half a dozen sheriff's units that are right on him. They are
about it earlier, JT. Maybe law enforcement know exactly who the suspect is and knows their rap sheet, and if they do have one. So of course they're going to be very cautious about this whole pursuit. And sort of give this
both. There's a moving 1125 dump truck driving with flat tires. But the RP also advised there's tire tread in the slow lane.
But clearly he knows he's being pursued. There are a number of vehicles behind him now, and an air unit overhead. With a spotlight basically fixed on him, and he could tell that, he could see that, and every time he stops at a stoplight, he'll see these units stack up behind him. So he knows that he's being pursued.
We're going to sign off from KDOC TV, and we're going to continue our live coverage on abc7.com. So join us for live coverage of this police pursuit that's happening in Compton right now on abc7.com.
All right, so we are back on abc7.com right now as we continue to follow this pursuit. Now it looks like the suspect is getting on the northbound 710 freeway. So we've been more than a half an hour on surface streets, and suddenly we see this suspect become more aggressive again. Keep in mind, when we first joined this pursuit, the suspect was very aggressive, really moving on the freeway, and then the CHP went into tracking mode. The suspect went into traffic on the 105, got off the freeway, and then generally abided by traffic laws and went at a safe pace. But then, just a moment ago, we see basically a change in his attitude, and he starts to get more aggressive. He goes against traffic on a traffic light, goes now he hops on to the freeway, and he's at least he's still going basically the same rate as traffic, but it concerns me now that we're back on the freeway, because the last time he was on the freeway and it was wide open, it was very dangerous.
Right, and it's still wide open right now on the 710 freeway. So the 710 getting back on from Compton, but again, this we saw earlier that the suspect does know how to drive very quickly between cars, and hopefully they'll just pull over and run out of gas, because at some point this has been going on for, David, would you say about 45 minutes or so?
I would say 45 minutes. At least that's the time when we got the word that this pursuit was now underway, starting in Compton as a stolen vehicle. We have gotten a couple of glimpses of the guy driving the car. We haven't seen anybody else in the vehicle. It doesn't mean they're not there, but that's all we have been able to see. We've seen some odd behavior from the driver, where he would often communicate with people outside the vehicle. He saw two people standing on the street, talk to them, try to get into a guard gate. The guard gate, try to get through a gate. The guard would not open the gate for him. And then a couple of different times he talked to vehicles that were next to him at stoplights. We don't know if he's actually telling them something, or if he's just requesting something, if he knew them. We're just not sure, because that was back when he got back to Compton, where allegedly this whole thing began, and perhaps he has some familiarity with that area.
Absolutely. We saw the window open. We saw his arms outside. We saw him very agitated and animated. We saw him smoking in the car. We heard earlier that maybe sometimes suspects keep their window open, do these long pursuits to try to get rid of anything that may be illegal in the car, i.e. weapons or any kind of drugs. But again, we didn't see the suspect do anything outside that window, but we did see him getting very animated with some of the vehicles he pulled up to, as if almost motioning like pull over or something. That it just sort of looked like he was trying to signal them to something, but nobody was doing anything that maybe he was telling them to do.
So here he is, northbound 710 freeway. He is accelerating now, clearly going a lot faster than the traffic around him, which is basically the way he was driving when we first picked this up, and also he was switching lanes a lot at that time. Right now he's really accelerating, really moving. Not sure where he's going. Maybe he doesn't know where he's going. While he was driving around Compton, it was very clear he was hesitant, wasn't sure where to go, made a lot of stops, made a lot of U-turns, although JT will tell us that some of those U-turns were by design so he could see who's behind him as he's trying to get away from the police. But now he's back on the freeway, driving at a high rate of speed. Luckily, not radically changing lanes though, but it's definitely passing people by.
No, and we know the suspect's passing through the Linwood area, again heading north on the 710 freeway. And we do see that right now traffic is, as you can see, but even in front of the suspect, there is no traffic on the freeway, on the 710, at least north. And you can see a pretty good, you can see this suspect is traveling at a pretty high rate of speed, because certainly passing up almost all the vehicles he's encountering. So, David, it looks quite like he's definitely speeding. But.
Yeah, and he's the distressing thing is he clearly does not feel like getting up just yet. So he's going to continue on this path and just continue to take law enforcement with him wherever he decides to go. I'm not sure if he knows where he's going, but if he stays northbound on the 710 freeway, he'll work his way up to East Los Angeles. Eventually, if he, depending on where he goes, Thank you. He's the Cudahy area right now. And so right there on the 710 freeway going to Cudahy and Bell Gardens, eventually Bell and Maywood are the areas that he's going to be.
You're seeing right by the Florence Avenue exit.
Right.
For 82-750, you can hit your lights really quick for 858 so they can stop the vehicle brake. South-away, Sergeant, that's affirmative. I have 82 at 6 and 82 at 6 and out from the office.
Right.
So
he could, if he basically goes right, he'll head to Bell Gardens. If he goes left, he'll head to Cudahy Bell. Let's see what he does here. Exiting at the Florence Avenue exit of the 710 freeway. And he is, you said heading west?
Now going to be northbound 710 from Florence, number 4 lane, 70 miles per hour now.
Maybe perhaps heading back to Linwood and eventually to getting back to where he came from. If he continues to
David. And I think JT was saying that this CHP had the black doors. He said municipals have 4 white doors. So it looks like the CHP is onto him, and he certainly knows it.
Right. So Uh-oh. Okay, so let's check back here with JT Alpa as this pursuit. They're definitely kind of zooming in or zeroing in on the suspect.
Yeah, you can see law enforcement really trying to tighten it up a little bit here. We haven't seen the emergency equipment come back on yet, but again, I'm watching a feed that's a little bit delayed right now, David and Colleen, so you can just keep me updated and stuff. But as it goes, it looks like they're getting off on Florence, or they've gotten off on
Yeah, so we are, and the interesting thing is that the personality of this pursuit is clearly changing. The CHP is right on him, whereas before they were on tracking mode, so they weren't crowding him. Now they're right on him, and they're letting them see that. I guess they're getting kind of tired of waiting, and also his personality has changed, JT, where he's becoming a lot more aggressive. Clearly, he's flying down the freeway, but he again uses his blinker like he just did right there, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting we're seeing the CHP now that they're back in their environment.
Copy, you're going to be lining up the vehicle. We'll go ahead and put down a climb while you're going to stand by.
And we've seen the officers in the cars turn on their emergency and then turn it off, which is really interesting.
I copy with static.
They're driving as if they're in pursuit. The equipment is not on, so again, I'm not extremely familiar with CHP's pursuit policies or traffic. But in the state of California, you have to go facing the red light to officially in pursuit, so it's difficult to see is that
and the vehicle's now wrong way down towards Livingston from the honor.
You are looking at a delayed feed, as I mentioned earlier. But
well, he just turned his lights on, JT.
On the
but
highway, and we'll see what happens. It's
right,
very interesting to see. Now, they're right behind him as if they are in pursuit, but I don't see the emergency equipment, which is an interesting factor.
Mm-hmm. The one unit just turned his lights on when you were talking, and I think might have been because he was merging into lanes. Is there a pit maneuver here? Okay, here we go. They're doing a pit maneuver, and it is successful. Let's see. But he's now going the wrong way down the freeway. The police are, the CHP units seem to be getting out of his way, but he is driving the wrong way on the freeway now. So, and then he maneuvered his way all the way through there. But keep in mind, he's on a busy street. If not, a busy street where he's going absolutely against the traffic, almost like a salmon swimming upstream. But he did get out of there. It seemed to be a pretty good pit maneuver, but he found a way to squeeze his way through, Colleen.
Yeah, I mean, he went right through the other black and whites that were right there. There were several of them, and like you said, it was like a upstream. Found himself to, I mean, that was pretty incredible.
Well, it was a desperate, dangerous move, because we often have seen these things end in a very bad way when they're going right at officers, law enforcement, and they have no other choice. In that particular case, it appeared that the officers were able to maneuver the car out of his way, basically letting him go, just so it doesn't turn more violent than it needs to be.
You're right, but you can see that, speaking of volatility, you can see this driver is going faster, is definitely much more interested in getting away from police, knows that he's being followed. So
he's clearly heightened. He's hyper now. He's trying to get away. He's desperately trying to get away. There's a look at the units that are right behind him again. JT, you back with us? Okay, so he is now being pursued. These units are right behind him. This seems to be a really open industrial area. You see all the big rigs over to the right. Some kind of an area, cargo loading. Okay, let's see what he does here. It looks like he's going to fly through the light, which he's going through the light, against a red light, taking a left, and squeezing his way through traffic, accelerating, and these units are right behind him as well.
As soon as you engage that for the first time, it changes the whole game completely. As soon as the officer versus the suspect it becomes a at that point to the suspect. So you may see him reacting to that with the way he's driving now and acting more aggressively, which is basically understood that this is no longer a game, and he's going to driving and try to get away more. We'll see what happens next. You can clearly see CHP now in full gear.
All right, we are in Maywood now. And JT, when they perform a pit maneuver like we just saw, what is their goal or their motivation? Do they hope to pin him? Here's a replay of it right now. And there you see the pit maneuver. It looked like a pretty good one. Are they hoping to basically pin him against the railing so he can't go anywhere? Or what is their motivation?
And the inertia in that car, most of the time, what officers will do, then they'll position their vehicles in a certain position to block that vehicle from driving forward and from turning around. The initial engagement of that pit maneuver wasn't correct. It didn't stop the vehicle, and he didn't go forward the wrong direction. Almost going back to the which has been disastrous. It's one of those things.
Okay, JT, we got another pit maneuver right now. He's hitting him right in the middle of an intersection. He did turn him around again, but he got away. But the CHP officer looked like a pretty clean pit maneuver, flipped the vehicle around, but all the vehicle did was go the opposite direction. And you'll notice, Colleen, now his headlights are off. So he has no lights. He's driving through dark streets at a very high rate of speed. People aren't going to see him coming. He's desperately trying to get away. So this is now transformed into a very dangerous pursuit. The CHP obviously is right behind him, trying to keep their lights and sirens on to warn other vehicles. But if anybody has driven at night and you've seen somebody without their lights on, exceptionally dangerous, especially on surface streets with very few street lights out there.
Yeah, the key to these maneuvers is basically having a right through the first one we saw, you saw the car, them to get in position to block the traffic. It's difficult to do it if you don't have at least 2 or 3 vehicles to help you with it. It's just not a one-vehicle maneuver.
Well, JT, we have a situation here that could be deadly. This guy is going at a high rate of speed with no lights. Okay, it looks like they're going to move in on him again. He looked like he was trying to position himself for a pit maneuver, but then they ran into traffic, so he backed off just a little bit. But clearly, law enforcement has to be more aggressive now that this guy is being so dangerous, flying through red lights, no headlights on, doing anything to get away. Now the community is in danger.
Absolutely, and that's when they try to get as close as they can to the suspect, turn on their emergency equipment, try to let as many people know that this is coming their way, and that's exactly what we got a red light. Or maybe switching helicopters, switching crews, but we haven't seen that night sun on in quite some time.
You're right. We have not seen that night sun. But they don't let it go without a helicopter of some sort, though, right? They just might have a different vehicle overhead.
Yeah, that might be the reason the car is actually we'll get another air unit there. Obviously, we're overhead and we can see what's going on, but it's important exactly what he's doing, and it doesn't look like driving on the wrong way now on the right side of the roadway now approaching. Unfortunately, I'm not in the aircraft right now, but
that's a good observation. Pacific Avenue in Huntington Park right now. We're going to replay that second pit maneuver for you. We'll split the screen so the left-hand side is live on the right-hand side. That is the pit maneuver that we saw just a couple of minutes ago. There you see him. They hit him right in the middle of an intersection. They flip the car around, but then he just takes off in the other direction, and that's when it's very clear to see he has no headlights on, and as he goes through these shadowy streets with very little lighting, he is flying down the street with no ability to warn oncoming traffic that this car is there. And there he is flying into an intersection, taking a quick left, almost hitting that pickup truck.
Yeah, now his lights are back on.
His lights are back on. Perhaps he wanted to warn them that he was coming. So this driver clearly is doing things intentionally. His behavior, yes, erratic, but maybe even he knows that some of these cars need to be able to see him coming so he can get through there. He doesn't want to get in an accident because then he'll be caught or killed. So clearly he doesn't want it wrecked, but he also wants to try to be as safe as possible. At the same time, he doesn't want to get into a collision. So he's making decisions on the fly.
This is very
which is unusual too. So definitely a different situation here. The scenario much different than it was earlier. Definitely going to try to get the suspect in custody.
Right, and now we're seeing more traffic on these streets. We're seeing these minivans and cars, and everyone's trying to do the right thing and pull to the right, but unfortunately the suspect's so erratic, sort of trying to go around these cars to the right, where everyone's sort of in a moment of panic. I'm sure these poor drivers, but right here you're going to see them go right through it again, which is obviously extremely dangerous for anybody involved. We've seen these collisions and intersections where drivers T-bone terrible results.
South LA, he's entered South Los Angeles and continues to basically fly down the street, but he has turned his lights on as the CHP units are right behind him, continuing to pursue this driver. Luckily, the streets have mellowed out a little. It doesn't look like a lot of traffic out there right now until you get to an intersection like that, and he does fly through it.
Southbound Hooper, just south of Manchester. I've been able to see, but you believe he's on Hooper right now, and again, getting back into the city of Los Angeles. So LAPD is probably getting this.
That's affirmative at
27375 in the pursuit stop. With an air unit, but we'll see that. I'm sure we'll see that.
Okay, so he's on a bit of a curvy street if this is Hooper, and then winding his way through traffic. Lights are on right now, but clearly if you check his speed compared to everybody else's, he is flying through. Now it narrows into a one-lane street. Now he's going the wrong way, crossing the double yellow, and then squeezing his way up through that one-lane traffic, and then finding some clearance there while the CHP is behind him. I'm sure they're maneuvering their way as well. We can't see them in the shot, but they are right there. A number of vehicles. I think the last we saw was something like 5 or 6 vehicles are behind him. There's a good shot right there. There you see them coming. So they are close by. And at least with them being there, there's a little bit of a warning for other drivers who are coming in that direction. The drivers that, in my opinion, might be most vulnerable are the ones that might be perpendicular to where he's driving, where they just don't have an opportunity to see ahead. They might fly through an intersection.
Stuck at the light. But again, this driver is really taking some big chances. Where earlier we saw him being very calm, very methodical, not really aggressive. But now we've just seen him take it up to a whole other level. And JT, you said they would take it up to another level when sort of a pit maneuver happens. Now we've had 2 pit maneuvers that were successful, but then unsuccessful with having this driver surrender.
Yeah, there's something in the nature, Colleen, of when a vehicle
southbound on Central coming up on Interior Highway about
and that's how law enforcement is trained. When you
southbound Central, approaching Imperial number 1 lane.
Completely different situation.
The green light at Interior Highway, but we have a lot of traffic here.
Intentionally. So when that happens, it definitely raises the stakes.
And he's welcome to continue south on Central.
And you can see the cars right here. You can see many of them trying to pull over to the right, and now giving a pretty good area for this traveler to keep on going, because it seems like very few cars are in front of them, and they see all these black and whites, they see the helicopters, they have to be hearing all this chaos unfolding behind them, and obviously very confused.
Yeah, and I want to point something out, too, for our viewers here. If you're seeing a reflective street light or flashing that's not from the emergency vehicle. That's actually from the helicopter.
He's done 120th from Central.
That's from the helicopter's landing lights, the very powerful LED lights you see. So don't be confused.
Time will be 2020 hours. I'm Adam 15.
That's actually the helicopter, media helicopter's lights.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we see it because you can see it reflective on some of the street lights.
So he's continuing on Hooper Street, from what we understand, going through South LA and not stopping at intersections, finding his way through and going across the double yellow, just like that, and trying to squeeze his way through an intersection. Now he's taking a left. You can see the damage on the side of his vehicle from those pit maneuvers. So his driver's side back door is damaged clearly. So they've hit this car a couple of times, a couple of pretty decent pit maneuvers, but he has been able to survive them and keep driving. And there you can see a very high rate of speed as he is flying down the street here. Not sure where he's going, if he has a plan at all. It seems to be that he's just winding everywhere, Colleen.
Yeah, we're just finding out that he's in the Watts area, maybe heading back to Compton, which is, again, the original spot where this car came in for a stolen vehicle, and then it took on a whole another meaning when they tried to pull over the car. We saw it on the freeway, we saw it on the 110 into the 105 eastbound, and then going back into Compton, and racing around again, going back onto the 710. So this suspect is now circling around. It just was leaving South Los Angeles, heading into the Watts area, and possibly heading back into the Compton area where this suspect seems to know.
And we're going to be eastbound on 132 coming up to Wilmington. His way on the south side of the 105 back towards
131st approaching 10 and the cross.
A matter of a few miles here. Going back to the area we're jumping out onto Wilmington, and he's going to make that right turn, so we're going to be southbound on Wilmington from 130th. Where they have family,
southbound on Wilmington from
that know they need to hide from the police, or think they can.
All right, so he seems to have turned down a very dark street. Luckily, his lights are on. You can see the police units are right behind him. He's winding his way through. I think we're still in Watts, right, Colleen?
The major we went southbound on just a few minutes ago.
So
away from Watts into the county. I know we're in the county.
Red light, that's 100.
So moving back towards Watts.
All right.
I'm sorry, back towards
Compton, which basically is where this whole thing began, and we always see that. It's what the behavior that we often see when it comes to these pursuits. We find these suspects always winding their way back to where it all started, or the area that they are familiar with. So he has gone all the way north up to up the 710 freeway, got off, wound his way through into Watts and other areas, Willowbrook, and then found his way back to Compton now.
Yeah, and you can see these cars pulling over. Again, this is sort of getting to be more traffic in this area. We never know if this person's going to end up going down some of those residential streets where we saw earlier where there were those pretty substantial speed bumps to slow down his rate of speed. But again, trying to talk to a couple people, but now that we've seen him talk to several people, at least mention several people, you don't know if he actually knew those people. But driving pretty quickly, trying to get away, trying to make it down these small, dark streets.
These dark side streets.
He came to an extreme stop. JT, he came to an extreme stop and turned off all the lights.
It's tough to see at all.
We're going to try to get some gain up on that camera to get a better shot. We've got plenty of light we can use here to get that picture a little better.
Well, right now we see absolutely nothing. We see absolutely nothing.
Came to an absolute sudden stop and turned all the lights off instantly. And you could see him brake, like, you could really see the car and thrust a little bit
now he's going to be running. He's going to be running westbound on School Street.
What's interesting about this guy, interrupt me if you see something different here, is that we don't know if there's an area
they took him down in the street.
Weather,
so it's going to be school.
Hard to say. Right now, he may have seen the thing. Officers
We have 3 units on scene, and they're trying to get the police out the way now.
Just see if he can play possum.
Is that the vehicle there?
It looks like the vehicle, but now you see somebody.
I don't think that's it.
You don't think so? Right
No.
here on the left-hand side?
No, I don't
Coming up on it, right there. Boy. They're getting out of their cars.
They're out of their vehicle. Okay, there's a CHP. Let's follow them.
I don't know if he has lethal or non-lethal.
Oh, that's the suspect right there.
Yeah,
they had
just
just
took him
tasered him, I think. I think they just tasered him. It was so unusual, JT, that it looked like this guy was just walking on the street.
He was putting on a sweatshirt. You looked at him.
Is that what he was doing?
Kind of
changing his shirt?
Yeah, or doing something to put something on to maybe disguise what his shirt was on below. And,
and we will keep in mind, we will play this back for you, but it looked like once we figure things out, we will follow these CHP officers. Now they're saying code 4 up top to their area unit, I think. So they have their suspect. I'll have to see that again on the replay, because once we got our bearings, We saw these two CHP officers get out of the vehicle, start walking, and then start running and approach this suspect. The suspect turned to them. I think he put his hands up like, I'm okay, and you could see basically the laser from their
right, you can see that shirt that we were just talking about.
Okay, is he bleeding?
Might be bleeding on his forehead.
Well, okay, so
yeah, I'm watching.
all right, we're going to try to play this back for you, but it looked like that you could see the laser from the taser on the person's chest, and then they tased him, and the person went down. They turned the person over, put the handcuffs on. It is over. It looks like everybody's okay. There might be some minor injuries from the tasing, but the suspect is in custody. And there's that shirt that we all were talking about, the white shirt with the plaid stripes. But keep in mind, we are efforting the replay on this, so we'll get a better look. We'll have that for you in just a couple of seconds. Bear with us. The good news is that the suspect is now in custody. As far as I could see, it didn't look like there was a whole lot of other damage to property or people other than when they first went up to the suspect. It looks like they're looking things over. They're checking the suspect out.
Right. The suspect appears to be
medics
okay,
for the party in the gray Lexus. Looks like
and they
it's
just
all
keep
one and the same.
asking him to move away from the vehicle, obviously giving him some signs or some commands. But again, you saw it very quickly happen. You saw the person putting on that sweatshirt over their plaid shirt, possibly to conceal their...
Guys, I'm going to throw this out here, David and Ellen.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the close-up there, and it looks like this could be possibly a female. It's the person who's got a
yeah, that's it.
ponytail.
That's
and
what we were thinking as well. Yeah, it could be a female. Okay, so let's watch the replay here. We're going to play it right now. I think it's coming up. Okay, here we go. On the right-hand side, so we took it back a ways. You'll see the suspect suddenly stop, and then you see a lot of darkness. So keep in mind, look at the house that the suspect stopped at. Okay, so then it's complete darkness. It's very difficult to see what is going on, if anything. So then we pick it up here, and there's the suspect chasing, the officer's chasing the suspect. There's a laser on the suspect, and the officer definitely used his taser on him or her. He or she went down. They turned the suspect over, they handcuffed the suspect, and it's all done. But yeah, JT, it very well could be a female.
I'm seeing earrings, David and Colleen. I'm seeing, but again, that doesn't mean anything. And a ponytail, but it just looks like the shape of the person. Very dark, hard to tell, but possibly female. Again, yet to be confirmed. But what you saw there was a less than lethal taser, which you described perfectly. And right now, what they're going to do is they're going to call an ambulance to get some medical treatment and pull those darts out of the skin and make sure they get the treatment they need, make sure they're not injured from that or the fall or anything in their head. But it appears like the suspect, that the suspect is up and about and okay.
Yeah, and thankfully no other people were hurt in this during the chase, where it was, it was well over an hour and 15 minutes or so. This pursuit was taking place. So very lucky, no other motorists, no other pedestrians were injured in this. But you can see the CHP with a napkin of some sort. It looks like they're trying to hand it to this suspect, and the suspect sitting down. It doesn't look like any kind of animated kind of mannerism.
All right. So we are going to wrap this coverage up. JT Alpa, thank you so much for helping us out on this. As always, your insight is so valuable or invaluable to us as we continue to watch this pursuit finally come to an end. We're going to have a complete wrap-up on Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock tonight. We'll get to the bottom of some of these outstanding questions. Absolutely. In the meantime, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.